My poor client is sad about her.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Thriving Lives podcast, to our now monthly Zoom call instead of weekly Zoom call. We have a lot of new and old faces on here as well. Welcome to it, guys. Renae, before we dive into the topic tonight, which is on workout structure, we have a couple different things we're going to talk about when it comes to your workout structure, just as general education / why do we structure your guys' workouts in the way that we do? What is the method behind that madness? But before we dive into that, Renae, how's your last couple weeks been, since it's been a few weeks since we were on the Zoom call last?
Pretty good.
You've had some life updates, I know.
Some life updates. Yes. I am leaving Pilates, which I'm actually excited about. I'll have way more free time for other things. I can focus more on just things I feel like are more prioritizing in my life. So that will be good. I'm getting back into my like 5 a.m. workouts a couple days a week so that I can have more consistent bedtime. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of me. I feel good about it. Um, and
Yeah, I'm happy for you. I know that adding that Pilates into your schedule was a good challenge. You stepped outside of your comfort zone, and did something totally different. And I think it was totally worth it for that experience. And yeah, I'm happy you did it, but I'm also happy that you were able to recognize, only a few months into feeling stressed and overwhelmed, that this just might not be the right time for you to do it, or maybe just like not the right, setting to do it in, whatever that looks like. But way to recognize that you were kind of getting out of balance in some ways and out of whack, and making that adjustment. It's hard to walk away from something. I know that Renae and I, when we were talking about this, about her leaving, her feeling torn because she felt like she was quitting something. And I know that you're not saying this at now, Renae, but you know what's important to recognize is leaving something that's no longer serving you is not quitting, right? It's just knowing yourself, and knowing what's best for you, at least at that season of your life. And so I think that, you doing Pilates served you in that season of your life, 6 months ago. And it was a good thing to kind of step out of that box, like I said. But then recognizing and realizing and being intuitive enough to know that it was just time to kind of, change things up, right? So
yeah,
kudos to you for doing that. It's definitely not quitting. It's just growing and learning what you need. So good
yeah.
job. Proud of you. Proud of you.
Thanks. It'll
Yeah,
be good.
of
I'm
course.
happy to have some extra time and just I think the stress off of my plate will make a big difference on just life in
And this
general.
opens up lots of hours, not only to grow yourself
Yes.
within Thrive Your Lives, but also I know that, since you started Pilates, you haven't been able to do many, one-on-one client sessions with
Mhm.
people, but now your time freedom is back. So you can always add those
Mhm.
in. So Renee's people, or my people, if you don't want to meet me in person, but you want to meet Renae in person, she is open to doing, one-on-one sessions as well, whether it's at the grocery store, helping you meal prep, or at the gym as well.
I
But yeah,
love the in-person training. Jessica and I did one and I love it.
it's
Like
awesome. It's so much
there's
fun.
I don't know, like I said, weightlifting is just it's just my jam. I love it.
Mhm.
I think there's other like things that other people love. And like I said, Pilates is cool. I enjoy it. However, yeah,
Well,
weightlifting is just my jam. I love it.
and there's nothing better
Form,
than that.
everything that goes into it.
Yeah, and there's nothing better than that hands-on experience for somebody who
Hmm.
maybe thinks they know what they're doing in the gym, but hasn't really ever worked with somebody before, to get that feedback on form and intensity and execution and stuff like that. And I mean, we can all use that guidance sometimes. So it's definitely a good thing to kind of take upon. Renae, also thank you for coming over and helping Nicole and I paint over the weekend on what was that, Saturday night. Uh,
Saturday night.
yeah,
Hmm.
Tuesday I got home from, I think, training some clients, and Nicole had started just completely
She
doing
had
an
told me she was
entire
going
living room remodel, which I didn't know was coming. So
to.
we're gonna host Lola's first birthday at our house at the end of the month. So it really gave us a good little time crunch to make sure we get everything done, which was probably the push we needed to get it done. But Renae came over and helped us paint on that day, and then what I did, like, I ruined our front yard this summer. I finally got the grass all green, and then I thought I'll put down some fertilizer. apparently not supposed to put it down with just like a cup. Like you're supposed to spread it for a reason. That's why they have spreaders. And I burnt the shit out of half my front yard. So I spent Saturday and Sunday with a hoe and rakes out there just digging up the front yard. So now it's just a bunch of bare spots and got new grass seed down. So hopefully it takes the right time. But yeah, a couple weeks ago as well, I think this would have been after our last Zoom call, I had hurt my knee. I've had a couple knee surgeries in the past back when I was in college, and I was on a hike with Lola and Boss when Nicole was out of town, and my foot got stuck underneath like a tree root that was in the middle of the path there, and it pulled my knee, something weird. And over the next couple days, it swelled up quite a bit. Always has me just anxious and horrified that I tore something. So one thing that there's always people, all of you here, including myself and Renae, you're going to have injuries or tweaks and stuff like that in the gym. And for me personally, there's nothing worse or more depressing than not being able to move my body how I want to move it when I want to move it. And so when I'm injured, my number one priority at that time is to get uninjured and fix things as fast as I can. So my first step is usually, whether it's muscular or a joint issue or a bone issue or whatever, if I have some sort of a tweak, first thing I'm doing is going to one of my chiropractors. I have multiple all over the city. My Magic Man, the one that I go to for most things, and more conveniently located, is also a TLFer, Dr. Anderson. He's at Barnaby Chiropractic in Overland Park off of College in Antioch, if you're a local Kansas City person. I send a lot of people his way. He fixes everything. He actually found, what a normal chiropractor is going to do if you've never been to one before. They're just going to like check your spine and your neck, which he obviously does that as well. But the issue was in my knee. I knew it was acute to that area, and he actually found that my tibia was out of place, which is a lower leg bone. And so he was able to make that adjustment. I felt freaking phenomenal within about 48 hours, which again, most chiropractors are not going to identify that was the issue. Now, I say that to say that then after this weekend, got back into yard work and probably did about 1,000 squats out in the front yard that day. And my knee has been swollen the last 3 days. And so I made sure to get into see Dr. Anderson again. One thing that you guys might not know if you don't do much chiropractic work is when you freshly, something gets out of place, it gets put back into place for a short period of time, it's easier for those things to slip back out of place. So sometimes that's the reason why you got to do maintenance sometimes. Or in my situation, I just go and pound on my body out in the front yard and had to go get it readjusted. So I'm hoping by tomorrow I'll feel better. I'm playing 18 holes on Saturday, so I'll probably be retweaked and have to go see him again on Monday. But then after that, I told him I promise I'm not going to do anything that's going to mess me up any longer. But either way, whenever you're injured, do not sit idle at home. I mean, yes, rest, give it a few days, but if it's not feeling better within a few days, take the necessary steps to feel better and do what you got to do. Anyway, with further ado, let's get into the topic at hand tonight. Let me share my.
This topic was inspired by Jessica in our training session because she wants to know more about it. So obviously I'll go more into detail with her, like personally on things, but I was like, you should listen to this. This will be a good one. I think a lot of people can benefit from learning more about workouts. I remember when I first had my in-person trainer, he was like, you'll eventually know like what muscle you're working and what to put together. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I have no idea what muscle I'm working, why you're doing this or anything like that. And of course I did learn, but yeah, at first you don't really know like what you're doing. So this was a good one for just kind of everything.
I love that. Hold on one second. Keep talking for a second, Renee. I'm trying to figure out my screen here.
See,
Here we go.
you tell me to talk, then I don't know what to talk about.
I know nothing's worse than that. Can you guys see my screen right now? It says Thriving Lives Fitness Workout Structure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
perfect.
we can see it.
All right. Thank you. We are in. Let's go to the next slide here. All right. So first and foremost, let's talk about reps and frequency. So first off, let's start with reps. So when we're looking at rep schemes, and this goes for pretty much any exercise, when you're working in the 1 to 5 rep range, you're usually going to be working on strength. So if you're only doing 1 to 5 reps of something, you should be doing pretty damn heavy weight, right? Like a 1 rep max type of weight. So like on squat, how much can you squat just one time? That would be what your 1 rep max is. So this is going to be working on mainly strength. Will you build muscle from working on mainly strength? Of course you will. However, we don't structure a lot of our workouts with a lot of strength-based reps like this of 1 to 5, and mostly because, number one, you're coming to us for body composition purposes, so we want to build muscle and lose fat. You're also coming to us wanting to stay safe, whereas whenever you're training in those high or those lower rep schemes, a lot heavier weight, the risk goes up, right? Risk first, reward with that. And so we don't want you possibly getting injured with it. And sometimes training those higher, heavier weights like that and those lower rep schemes are going to elicit a little bit more injuries sometimes with it. Again, our goal usually, whenever you're coming to us, is usually to build some muscle and lose some fat, and that's where hypertrophy is going to come in place. So that's going to be your 6 to 12 rep range schemes there. Endurance would be 13 plus. So can you still build muscle and strength within those higher rep schemes? You can, but usually you want to pick one of those 3 kind of targets, and that would be kind of your rationale and to why it is you're doing that. You'll still see us mix in a little bit of strength, maybe not as much, but sometimes we'll be mixing in endurance as well, and sometimes just so you can learn your own thresholds. Anything to add to that, Renae?
Endurance on like the 13 plus or things like that, definitely more like um body weight type things, or at home workouts where we're not having as much access to these weights and machines and things like that, are more so endurance, I would say. So you can still be lifting weight or still be doing body weight. Um, and that, yes, that can still help over time build muscle, but
Yes.
um that's kind of when we do the endurance. The other part of it, I would say, is increasing reps if you can't increase weight, which I can kind of dive in on that if unless we have is that progressive overload? Do you want to talk about it at that point?
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
tell
Let's talk about that then. But I do like that you brought up like the home side of things, because if you're limited to just 10-pound dumbbells or just resistance bands and body weight movements, then doing 1 to 5 is not going to be enough because you're not
or doing 6 to
very heavy.
12 is not going to be enough.
Yeah, 6 to 12 is usually not going to be enough. Now, what you can do is you can slow down the tempo, so you could do longer holds, longer, contractions, longer stretches of the movement, longer eccentric portion of the movement, which like on a dumbbell curl, the contraction portion is as you're raising that dumbbell up. The eccentric is as you're lowering your back down. So you can make those eccentrics longer as well. So you can take those body weight and those lighter weight movements and make them harder with that. But still, if you're at home and you're limited with equipment, and maybe your workout just says do 6 to 12 reps, that's probably not going to be enough for you if you're doing, very, very lightweight, unless of course you're a total beginner and like you don't have a lot of strength or endurance kind of built up, in which case you would kind of start low with that. But so yes, depending on where you're at location wise, stuff like that, it's going to be kind of a factor with that as well. But we'll get into a little bit more of why you would increase those reps or weights and stuff like that whenever we get to the slide for progressive overload. Now let's talk real quick about the frequency in which you're working out. So, 1 to 2 workouts a week, 3 to 5 workouts a week, or daily. First off, 3 to 5 workouts a week is that sweet spot, right? If you can get in there 3 to 5 times, that allows you to train intensely on those days and should hopefully be enough to recover. Now, that's the biggest thing to kind of keep in mind when it comes to frequency. How often are you working out, especially when we're talking about weight training, or if you're doing, longer runs or sprint work or, more explosive movements and stuff like that, is as long as your body's able to recover day to day and over the course of that week, then you can get in there a lot more frequent. If your body's having a lot of tough time recovering, then you might want to think about how much volume or reps you're doing and how much weight you're using, and also maybe go down in frequency in terms of what you're doing getting to the gym. Now, the only
Volume, let's touch
yeah,
on that really quick. What volume is?
yeah,
Volume is how much you're lifting times how many reps you're doing.
yeah.
So
Weight times
that's
reps is going to equal volume, and you build that up over the course of a workout, yeah, or an exercise in itself. And then also you have the entire volume for the entire week as well. So these are things that we're keeping in mind as we're building out your guys' workout plans based off of, when you report to us, when you first come to us, are you a beginner? Are you intermediate? Are you more advanced? What does your current lifestyle look like right now? Because maybe in your 20s, you were killing it. You were an average gym goer. You were in there 5 times a week. But the last, 10, 20 years, you haven't been in there like that. So you're not going to be able to go in there and just smash it really hard 5 days out of the week because you're going to be rocked. You're going to be sore. You got to kind of build up some of that tolerance in the gym with it. Now let's talk about real quick who's going to be kind of in that daily group, who's going to be in the 3 to 5 workouts a week, and who's going to be in like that 1 to 2 workout a week. So, your daily people, here's what I recommend. That I do not mean go into the gym and smash weights as hard as you can every single day. What that means is if you have the time in your schedule and you've always really struggled making an actual true habit of getting to the gym, going daily is going to help you build that habit, because if you are planning and carving out time every single day for you to get to the gym, it's going to become a habit sooner than later. It might take you a few weeks, might take you a few months, but if you're going every day, you're gonna be able to do that. Now, when you're going
Or
to the
if you
gym every day,
really enjoy it,
yes,
I would say. Like I
yes,
went to
you
the
love
gym.
the
I think
gym.
I was going 6 days a week, and it was hard for me to not go the seventh day because I fell in love with it.
Yeah, yeah, you
Um,
love it.
so habit forming or
Or if you absolutely love
as
it.
a hobby.
Yes. And that's how I started as well. From the age of probably 15 through 24, I probably won every day. Now I did and this is the reason why you guys are here as well, is we're trying to learn with an actual coach and not just do all the trial and error. But I put my body under a lot of stress, and that's probably why I have the injuries that I have now and the ailments and stuff that I have to kind of work around. Was overtraining for so long. But so when you're going daily, that does not mean to do a hard workout every single day. That would just mean getting in the habit of going to the gym. So when Renae was going to the gym 6 or 7 days a week, she's not going in there and smashing weights every single day. Some of those days are going to be just light cardio days, more
Mhm.
stretching, more ab work, stuff like that. So that's what we're kind of talking about, is you would still hit that ideal 3 to 5 actual weight training workouts. But in those other days you're making it to the gym, you're doing more active recovery days, foam rolling, stretching, a little bit of cardio. Maybe your gym has a basketball court or a pool or a sauna. You can go utilize all those things on those other days too. And it still is cultivating that movement mindset, that active, lifestyle that you're trying to kind of cultivate. And you're doing that there in the gym setting. Or it could be maybe even out of the gym. Maybe you're not going to the gym per se every single day, but you're doing home workouts. And then maybe you're going on a walk or going on a hike or doing outdoor type of exercise and stuff like that. Maybe you like rock climbing. Like any of this stuff could happen. There's not just a one size fits all. Everybody has to be in the gym. Your gym can be whatever that looks like to you. Now, so that's kind of your daily person. Again, 3 to 5 workouts is going to be optimal for most people to kind of build, muscle with it. Now, the person who should be going to the gym 1 or 2 times a week or
Well,
getting,
hang
maybe not in
on.
the
Let's
gym. Yeah.
reeling it back to 3 to 5 workouts. It depends on how we're splitting it up based on like body parts, things like that. So, um, like if I most females are gonna feel like more they focus on lower body. So at least 2 leg days a week, and then you're gonna sprinkle in your upper body in there. Maybe you're doing arms and shoulders, maybe you're doing back and bicep, or chest, shoulder, tricep, or just 2 upper body days. But the ones you want to target more, so it's if you want to target glutes more, you're going to put that in twice a week probably, and then the other 2 times. Or um when I first started, I was doing 5 strength trainings. So I was doing 2 legs, 2 back bicep, 1 chest, shoulder, tricep, because I didn't have as much like drive to grow my shoulders, chest, and triceps as much as
Yeah.
I did back and bicep. So that's why we're picking those for that. Now, if you're doing full body, we always suggest at least 3 full body a week.
Mhm.
You could probably throw a fourth full body in there too, for sure. Um, but that's kind of how we're splitting it up. So men, I would say, I don't know, do you maybe hit shoulders more often, biceps more often, or
So when I first started training, I probably hit every single muscle group at least twice a week, and I would hit them long and hard. And again, it was overkill what I was doing. Um, One of the best time, I always go back to when my body grew the best, when I lost the most amount of body fat and maintained the most muscle and strength ever, during a comp prep. I was only working out intensely 3 times a week, and it was just a push and a pull split. So I would do 1 week, I would do 2 push days and 1 pull day. The next week I would do 2 pull days and 1 push day. And at
that's
first, when I
push
looked at that
pull.
training
Let's go
plan,
back to
yeah,
that.
and yeah, push and pull. So it wasn't a upper so whenever you see a push and pull day, and you'll see these on like my workout plans as well, that I build out for you guys. There's a full body push. So that would be like, chest, shoulders, tricep, and quads, your pushing type of movements. And then a full body pull day would be like your back, your biceps, and your hamstrings, probably glutes on that as well a little bit. So that was kind of the training split, right? So some days twice a week, I would hit chest 1 week and triceps and shoulders and quads. And then I'd only hit hamstrings and back and biceps one time that week. And the next week it would be flip-flopped. And that was kind of how that training plan went. But the thing with that, because it was very low volume, very low frequency, the main thing that I had to get out of that was every single rep counted, because I was doing so far fewer reps than I was really used to. And that's really when I saw my body respond the best. Now, when we're programming this stuff out for you guys, what I like to do on my training programs, and if you're one of my clients who see this as well, is I try to give you variety with this stuff. And we'll talk about how frequent we will change your workouts and stuff like that, but usually around every 10 weeks or so. And so like what I want you to do is go through different splits. So I just mentioned a push pull full body. There's also push pull legs, where you're doing your upper body push movements like chest, shoulders, and triceps, and you're doing upper body pull days, which would be like your back and biceps, and you'd have a whole designated leg day. So those are some different splits. Or like Renae said earlier, splitting up muscle by muscle. Some people could just do just an arm day, just a shoulder day, just a chest day, just a back day. And so you're going to see all of these different versions of workout splits. And my rationale and why I'm building that out for you guys is so that you can see the variety and different ways you can set up your own training days. And so eventually, whether you're doing something on a consistent basis or going in there and just picking different stuff each day, you have some good experience to kind of draw from. Renae, anything that we need to hit off that exact? Thanks for catching me on some of the terms that I'm using, because
Yeah, also I'm
just gonna
trying
recommend.
to put it in not so much gym lingo. So if you guys aren't understanding anything, stop us and
Yes.
let us know.
Yeah, stop
Or
us.
send a message in. But
Yeah.
it takes time to learn the gym lingo. I remember when I first started, I was like, what's this workout split? Like what even is that? And
Yeah.
so again, you don't start with all this knowledge, you
No.
learn it over time.
Yeah.
So it's okay to not know, but just ask us if you don't know.
Yeah, please throw it in the chat, because if you, and I'll always think about this. Anytime you guys have a question, and why I always say, hey, throw this in the community group, is because if you have a specific question, I guarantee at least 10 other people are having that same question. They're just not asking it. Or they're forgetting to ask it, or they feel stupid and they don't want to ask it, which that is never the case. Again, Renae and I's biggest goal is that you learn everything you can while you're with us. And the only way that happens is by asking questions whenever you have them. We want you to become familiar with this stuff, comfortable with this stuff, knowledgeable on it, so that you can take this and run with it for the rest of your life. Okay, so anybody have any questions on the strength reps, hypertrophy, endurance workouts, or workout frequency? One thing I think before we move on, actually, as well, is that 1 to 2 workouts a week. This is gonna be more for somebody that, one, we have functional issues, and my functional clients know this, meaning like if you have thyroid issues, if you have hormone issues, if you have cortisol issues, then I might only have you doing 1 or 2 very low intensity workouts a week, just to give you some sort of movement with that. But outside of that, though, if your schedule is just crazy,
Because strength training, you're not actually growing your muscles in the gym. It's inflammatory and you're breaking down that muscles, but then you rebuild it through your sleep, which is why deep sleep is so important when you're trying to build your muscles.
Yep.
So why he said if we ever have to tone it down when you have thyroid issues, hormone issues, high cortisol, things like that, it's because it's technically inflammatory.
Yeah, we have to lower that inflammation and that stress on the body, so that everything
Stress,
else
yeah.
can be fixed as it's needed. But then outside of that, though, just if your schedule is absolutely crazy, if you've gone years of 0 workouts, 1 to 2 workouts a week is fantastic. That means you are progressing. Could it be more? Maybe it could be, and it probably will eventually become more than that. But if you got to start with just 1 to 2 workouts a week, that's a win. If you've been stuck at 0, if you got kids, if you got a crazy work schedule, if you're just getting in once or twice a week, that's fantastic if you're coming from 0. And even on your worst week, maybe you're used to 3 to 5 workouts a week, and this week is just a shit show, and you got in once or twice. Well, guess what? That's 1 or 2 times more than 0, and that still allows you to tread water, still maintain the habit of getting to the gym, and that's definitely okay as well. Now, are you going to build much muscle? from 1 to 2 workouts a week? Most likely not. Is it better than nothing? Of course it is. Is it going to help you maintain and sustain that muscle mass? Of course it is, as long as you're training intelligently with those 1 to 2 workouts a week. All right, next slide. How much time should your workouts take? Renae, you want to start with this one?
Yeah, so again, lifestyle client wise, it's going to take however long you have time in your schedule. Training wise, it's going to take longer if you're taking more rests between your sets. You would need to take more rest between your sets if you're lifting heavier. If you're doing a lot of endurance, the point of that is to keep your heart rate up, to keep you going. You're not taking much break between these sets and reps. Well, so my workouts take me anywhere, again, depending on how much time I have. I like to go at least for an hour. Sometimes I can knock out arm and shoulder day in 45 minutes if I need to like cut something out or whatever. Leg days take me between an hour and an hour and a half. Again, it depends on how much I want to rest, how much I will like mess around on my phone or whatever. But yeah, so I wouldn't say it's not as much like a time that you need to shoot for. It just depends on A, what feels good, B, what do you have time for in your schedule.
Exactly.
There's no magic number like, okay, well, you need to go on a walk for 60 minutes, or oh, you only did a 40-minute walk today, so that wasn't really a workout. Like that's not how it is. But yeah, how much time it should take, I feel like this is kind of like very personalized, but
I agree.
I would say it's between 45 minutes to an hour and a half is
Yep.
pretty standard. Again, hour and a half if you're more um dedicated to building muscle, or not even dedicated to building muscle, but like weightlifting more, I would say.
Yeah, and I would say a big factor that into it as well is how long do you personally need to warm up? How long do you personally need to cool down? How much time do you, like, again, Renee said this as well, is some days you might be short on time. Maybe you only have 30 minutes to smash a workout. Maybe you have all day long. Maybe, again, I go back to what my initial starting days used to look like when I was, 15 through 24. And I had all the time in the world. I could be in there for hours, and I would be in there for hours, and I'd be working out with some of my best friends, and so we'd be in there bullshitting between sets, and they would take 2 to 3 hours sometimes. But we love being there, and we love doing that. And we had that kind of time. Most people here do not have that kind of time. Whether you have families or not, most of you have some sort of job and career and stuff like that, and you have other obligations where you can't just spend that much time in the gym, nor is it needed to spend that much time in the gym either. So again, it comes down to how long does it take you to get your body kind of prepped for that workout. That might just be 5 minutes on the treadmill. That might need more stretching and foam rolling and mobility work before you actually get into that workout. More warm-up sets and stuff like that, depending on how your joints feel and your body feels. So it's also day to day, right? There's a lot of nuance in any of this stuff. Now, our workouts that we actually build out for you, again, we're taking into account when we're building these things out for you, what you're telling us within your questionnaire, what you're telling us on your consult call, and how your life changes once you actually get rocking and rolling with us in terms of how long these workouts should be taking you. But either way, though, if you get to the gym and you're supposed to be doing, leg one on your workout and you only have 30 minutes that day, you might not be able to hit every exercise or every single set or every single rep on that actual workout. Just do what you can with it. So how much time should your workouts take? That just there's so many nuances to it. But again, it's what can you feasibly actually do and how much time do you have in your day? And that should be about it. Most of the workouts that we build out for you will be about 45 minutes to an hour, not including, again, what the time it takes you to get warmed up and kind of cool down and stretch and stuff like that. But yeah, usually about 45 minutes to 60 minutes. And I would say, again, in like my season of life that I'm currently in, each week I'm still trying to hit each muscle group at least once. But shit, sometimes that's literally a 15-minute tricep workout. And that's literally all the time I have. And maybe I could build out more time, but right now that's allowing me to tread water, maintain that muscle and still, muscle mass and whatnot, and maintain that strength just by getting that in. So sometimes it's in between clients at the gym. Maybe I'm getting to the gym just 20 minutes before a client comes in. I just got to pump something out real quick. A little bit is better than nothing. A little bit's going to help you at least maintain and tread water. It's not throwing in away an entire workout session just because I couldn't do a full 60 minutes. figuring out what I can do and making it happen. Any questions on how much time it should take? Always toss stuff into the chat as well. Renae, I'm not seeing the chat. Can you see the chat? I can't even see the chat in general. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any chat questions.
Nothing's in it.
All right, cool, perfect. Exercise selection in order. So this is going to start with your experience level, number one, and number two, what kind of equipment do you have access to? Are you at home? Or are you at the gym? Also, injuries. You know, if you're prone to lower back issues or shoulder issues, those are going to be things that we take into account as well. Order wise, I kind of mix this up as well. So sometimes we're going to start with the more complex movements, you know, things like squats or deadlifts or bench press and stuff like that that are going to utilize more muscle groups. We might start with those because those are more overall fatiguing, and those are our strength and power movements where we want to get more weight out of what we're doing, and then move on to isolation movements there afterwards. Other times I like to pre-exhaust you and start with isolation work and then finish with those more complex movements there at the end. But so again, this is again, everything we're talking about tonight is very nuanced. So I don't want to keep beating that dead horse because there are so many different factors that play into all this. And again, whatever we start you with, day one, week one, month one, might look vastly different week two or month two or whatever, depending on your feedback that you're giving us, how your body's responding, how you're responding, and also your enjoyment level as well, because that is a factor we want to take into account. We want you guys enjoying what you're doing as well. Renae, thoughts on exercise selection and order?
I typically start with like the bigger muscle groups. Then I will isolate it down into smaller muscle groups. Or like arms and shoulders, that's all pretty, I feel like they're all pretty level for me.
Yeah.
So that I'm just throwing in there. I'm thinking what goes well together. I'm gonna put like cable stuff together, or if I know like the layout of my gym, I'm gonna put this such together and not this. So order can sometimes be based on your access to equipment, can be based on the like muscle group, like we were talking about. Exercise selection, again, enjoyment, or ones that we know are going to target and work well. Like I'm going to put things in there that I know have helped me. Like if it's helped me grow my glutes, I'm going to put it in your glute day or things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's like personal preference, and you kind of have to try out multiple different things to find what you like, what you enjoy. Different things. We'll go into it more on like selection as far as like dumbbells versus
we have a
as
slide
well.
on that.
But
one other thing, and Renae pointed this out as well, and we might not know this because we don't know exactly your gym layout, but you have the latitude, and you should have the autonomy to be able to make choices that work with what your workout kind of layout looks like. So meaning, you know, I might say, and also equipment availability, meaning maybe the squat rack is taken right now and you can't do squats at that point, and you need to do something else before that. So you can, and we'll get to a whole slide where we can substitute fully and then take out squats and do a different movement in place of it, or just change the order, right? Like on your guys' workout plan on the training app, you don't have to go exactly in order. If it makes sense that you're like, hey, the squat rack's taken, I need to go do leg press first, and then I can come to squats, then fantastic. Change the order as it makes sense. And what's available or what's close by, what kind of makes sense to do and stuff like that. Kind of like your guys' meal plans. Like we build things out and give you know, guidelines with it, but outside of that, you got to take it and adapt it and make it work to kind of what you're doing. And if you have questions, then obviously ask your questions, but some of that is just, hey, just make it work, you know, depending on kind of what's available to you. Next slide here. So now we're talking about free weights versus machines versus cables. Renae, do you want to start with your perspective on that?
Yeah. So free weights are going to be like your dumbbells, your barbells, your fixed barbells. So I would say some of it is going to be more advanced. However, just because it's a free weight does not mean it's advanced. So just because it's a dumbbell does not mean it's more advanced. Free weights are going to target your balance more so than machines are. However, again, it's really going to depend upon what level you're at. Again, what do you have access to? If you don't have access to a squat rack, then you're gonna have to be doing a Smith machine because you can't be doing free weights. But also, again, a lot of free weight versus machine versus cable is experience level. Do we want to target your balance? Do we want to target, we want to isolate something? If you're doing bench press instead of chest press, like on a dumbbell chest press, you're not the bench press, it's only working both muscles at the same time. Whereas if you're doing the dumbbell, you have uneven weight. So like you're taxing your muscles in a different way. Does that
You're using like
in more balance? I mean,
you're utilizing your stabilizer muscles. So whenever you're doing free weights, you have to have a lot more control of it. Whereas a machine, especially, it's fixed. It's only going in one direction. You don't have to worry about it gives you its range of motion, and it doesn't really allow any wiggle room outside of that. Whereas free weights, again, there's higher risk versus reward when it comes to free weights versus something like a machine, because again, a machine is fixed. And hey, if you get the weight up halfway and you can't do it anymore, you can just drop it. You just let it sling on back and come back and you're fine. Whereas if you got dumbbells and you get halfway up on something, or you get halfway up on like a shoulder press, you can't just drop that shit because it's going to land on you. Right. So that's where there is a discrepancy in terms of, risk versus reward. However, that again, like Renae said, just because it's free weight and it's not a fixed machine like that doesn't mean you can't go over there and do it, and that you have to be an advanced person to go do the free weights. In fact, that's one of my goals always. And I've got some people over the course of Thriving Lives that have been like, I'm horrified to go over in the free weights and the dumbbells and stuff because I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm going to do things wrong. So then it's my goal to help them graduate on over there and go figure those things out. But yeah,
it's
so
also
yeah.
intimidating if you don't know, like I said, I never had a trainer, I don't know if I would have been on a squat rack because
Yeah.
you don't know really what to do.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that's where, I mean, I'll probably say it 1,000 times tonight on the call, but having an in-person trainer is going to make a world of a difference in your journey, whether that's 5 sessions, whether that's 20 sessions, but
It's
having
going to
that
provide confidence that you guys need.
confidence that you need, you're going to know how, like, also having someone like show you around the gym just gives you so much more confidence than you'll ever believe, because you feel like, oh, I know what I'm doing now. Like, we did this together, so now I feel like I can do it on my own.
Yep.
And again, it's just the form. If you're not lifting properly, you're not going to be feeling it in the correct muscle. If you're not feeling it in the correct muscle, you're not growing that muscle. You're not gaining that strength in that correct muscle. So you're not reworking that body composition. So again, this is not me or Marcus selling ourselves for personal training, but truly just hands down best experience to have an in-person personal trainer sessions. So
I completely agree with that because like I said, it's that confidence with it. Because if you don't know how to do something, it's going to be very intimidating to walk over and give it a try. And again, you're risking some injuries with it, depending on what it is you're doing and how you're picking stuff up.
And you don't see your form like when you're doing, unless you're like recording yourself or looking in a mirror,
yeah.
You don't necessarily know what your form looks like.
Yeah.
And so again, without that form, you're not really maximizing your time.
Yeah.
You could be doing hour and a half long workouts, and if you're doing the form all wrong, you're not truly gaining everything you could from that.
Yeah, you're there and that's a win, and you're putting in
100%.
effort, which is awesome. And those things are not negated by any means. But at the same time, if you're going to be there for an hour and a half, if you're doing things right, you're not going to walk away feeling, broken and injured. And you're going to walk away with having made a lot of actual physical progress, which is the reason why you're there in the very first place. So a little bit of that investment up front to make sure you're knowing what you're doing,
And
doing things
if
properly.
you can't invest in an in-person personal trainer, don't forget you can always take a video of yourself and send that to Marcus and I.
Please do. I
Is
feel
it
like
the same? No. However, it's way
Yeah.
better than us not seeing what you're doing in the gym. And I worked out with a friend last week, and just like little tiny tweaks I could make, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I feel that like way different now."
Yeah.
And so just little tiny things, and it's not to say that you're doing anything wrong, but it's helpful.
We can always use an extra pair of eyes.
100%.
with it as well. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's an underutilized thing that not a lot of people do, even though I try to say it. I guess we could say it more often, but send us videos. And I think that's probably a factor as well, as you feel weird recording yourself in the gym or doing a workout or whatever. But first off, it's not as weird now as maybe what it would have been 10 years ago. Everybody's out recording in the gym. But again, you should not be apologetic for trying to get better in the gym.
Mhm.
Obviously, don't record other people and just record yourself. But again, just having that extra pair of eyes with it allows us to provide feedback. You know, I just had a client the other day who sent me herself doing a tricep push down. She's like, I really want to, bump up the weight and get stronger with this, but first want to make sure I'm doing things correctly, because we've actually done a couple in-person training sessions and we never got to do tricep push downs. But so she was showing me the video and she was stopping halfway. She wasn't allowing her triceps to get into a fully stretched position before she went back into the next rep. So she was shortchanging herself. She was in the gym doing work and putting in that effort, but she wasn't getting the full range of motion out of that tricep push down, which is then again, zapping some of the gains that she could possibly be making. I had a client the other day as well. He'd been having knee pain for a while, and we weren't even doing a leg movement. I think we were doing like dumbbell lateral raises, maybe just dumbbell curls over in the free weights. And I was watching his feet, and you could tell that all of his body weight was not in his heels at all. It was all in his like toes and balls of his feet. So that means all of the weight, including the weight he was holding, is all shifted forward, which meant that all that the knees were taking the brunt of that. Whereas if he would have been more 60-40, 60% on his heels, 40% on the balls of his feet, in a better athletic position, strong foundation into the ground, his knees wouldn't hurt anymore. And so he actually is making those adjustments the last couple of weeks. And because of that, his knees don't hurt anymore, which is so funny because he just didn't realize everywhere in life, he's constantly standing forward where that weight is on his knees. And so just something like that can save you too.
To piggyback on that, the shoe you're lifting in is going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
If you're doing squats in running shoes, you're not
good.
challenging your balance. Your balance is not correct.
Yeah.
So
your balance is way worse than that because they're going to be higher shoes with a lot more cushion with
yes.
a total different like
you're not stabilizing the correct muscles, working the correct muscles if you're off balance. So weightlifting shoes, again, ask us if you have any questions about it.
Yeah.
My favorite are the Nike Metcons, personally, but yeah. Okay.
I would say in terms of shoe selection, really the only exercises that's really going to make a big difference on are things like squats, deadlifts, the things you need a very, very, very strong foundation with, primarily lower body movements like that as well. And so with those, like I don't have anything special. I've also had Nike Metcons as well. That are more like lifting type shoes like that. But I mean, I have like, New Balance that are just regular ass tennis shoes, flat shoes are going to be best for like squats and stuff like that. Something that your toes can actually spread out. But now we're kind of getting into the weeds, but I think that is a good point. We should actually probably talk about that as well at some point. One other thing before we kind of get back into the free weights, machines and cables is think about this. Like every other action, every other sport, there's cues that you need to know before going to it. I played baseball. So every time I was stepping into the batter's box, I had cues that I'd been working on in practice and batting practice all week long, that you have a cadence and a rhythm once you get in there, and you have like a little checklist that you kind of go through. Same thing with learning how to throw a football. You're going to have a certain checklist that you have to go through, cues, as you're learning that. Now, Patrick Mahomes, does he have to think about all of his cues and his checklist every single time now? No, because he's been doing this for thousands and thousands of hours. But when he first started, it had to be that way. You might be 30 or 50 years old, but if you're just now getting into the gym and learning how to do this stuff, you need to go back to the ground level. What is your foundation? What are your cues? What are the things? And so learning that with your certain movements, your different, things like that. Like I mentioned with that client who his weight was out over his knees, causing knee pain, even on something as simple as like a dumbbell curl. He was not utilizing those proper cues in terms of just stability and balance and the weight distribution in his feet. And those are things that we can't really communicate all that, because if I communicate, I already get, I feel like flack from some people from over communicating and giving too much information. So if I said, hey, your weight needs to be this distribution within your workout plan, you'd be like, fuck off, Marcus. That's too many details that you're asking me to follow with this. But that is something where in person, all it takes is one time and you're going to get it to stick. But so coming back into this actual slide, free weights versus machines versus cables, machines are something that beginners or advanced can do. Everywhere in between, you can actually get a lot more strength and even hypertrophy gains sometimes out of machines, just because there's less variables at play, and you can just load up that weight and really push yourself hard with those things with less of the risk that you're going to get with doing a free weight type of movement or something like that. I personally love using cables over free weights a lot of the time, primarily because you can keep the tension on your muscle the entire time. Versus like a dumbbell, if you're doing dumbbell curls, once that weight is down, dropped by your side, there's no more tension on your bicep. Whereas a cable, you're still holding on to that cable and there's still tension on your bicep, even at the very bottom of that rep. So I love cables a lot. But I also love machines and I also love free weights a lot as well. So like I said, I'm always going to have a good variety of things on everybody's training plans, but also coming back to what it is that I feel like you're going to be the most comfortable with. Sometimes I feel like cables are actually one of the more nerve-wracking ones or intimidating ones, just because there's so many like moving pieces and there's 100 different attachments to it, and setting those things up is awkward if you've never really done it before. Jessica said, the number of times Renae has told me, engage your core, it's etched in my brain. And yeah, that's again something, just telling you, with an in-person trainer there, to tell you to engage your core, or
Which
just
means,
to make sure you're breathing, right?
yeah, breathing, but engage your core means belly button to spine, kind of like lock it in. That should be your home position throughout your entire workout, basically.
Yeah.
When you're squatting, when you're lifting, when you're doing anything, engage your core.
Yeah.
A, it's going to be like a little mini core workout. B, it's stabilizing you again, so you can work on those other parts of the muscles that we're trying to target.
That's your
It's
foundation.
going to also help
That's
you
one of your
from your low
cues.
back taking over.
Yeah, that's one of your cues that every single time that you go do anything, it should become automatic. And again, like Jessica just said, it's going to become etched in your brain. I'll repeat something as well in the gym over and over again until I know that you're actively doing it. And once you tell me, hey, I got it, I got that. All right, cool. I'll stop saying it then. But yeah, so free weights, machines, cables. If you have any questions on that, I'm going to move on to the next slide. But if you have any questions, please throw it in the chat with those things as well. Okay, moving on. So how often should your workouts change? I kind of mentioned this earlier. In terms of how often should they change, your workouts don't need to change. We don't need to reinvent the wheel and do crazy new workouts like you see on Instagram that are like, what is this person doing? Why is it so complex? They don't need to be that difficult. The shit that worked in the 50s, 60s, and 70s still works today just as well as it did then. And those are the basic movements that you really need. Now, with that said, I understand, and myself included in this, we all like a little bit of variety. We like to mix things up, and sometimes our workouts will get stale if we keep doing the same ones over and over again. So that is the reason why, for my people and myself, but especially my people that I build out for, every 10-ish weeks, I have your workouts changing to give you variety, different workout splits, as I mentioned earlier, different intensifiers, different methods of training, different rep schemes, different, orders, right? So like I said, I could be doing complex movements initially and then working down to isolation. I might change up the order of that stuff as well, just so you have something kind of different to follow. But again, it adds more tools in your tool belt by kind of mixing things up. So you can find what kind of training do you like the most? Do you like just the individual muscle groups, split up? Or do you like the full body workouts? Or do you like all push days and pull days? Like, you can start learning these things so that once you're not with us, which we never want you to leave, but we understand that eventually you will. And so the more of these different phases we can go through together, the more experience you have, the more splits you've done yourself, the more you've learned what works best for your body, number one, and what do you enjoy as well. And it kind of allows you to, shit, I only got 20 minutes to go get a workout in. Boom, you know exactly what to go do because you've had the experience of doing our different workouts for you. Renae, any additions to make to how often your
No,
workouts
it's pretty
change?
simple.
Yeah, pretty simple on that one. Now, also, one other thing to note before I move on to that is if you're not liking a workout phase. Now, if somebody says, hey, I don't like this workout phase, I don't like a full body split or whatever, I'm going to say, hey, I want you to try this for at least 1 or 2 weeks. If you still don't like it after that, then I'll change it. Unless you just say, I absolutely hate this, then okay, I might change it for you. But so if you need something changed for some reason, shape, or form, let us know and we'll make that adjustment for you. Or if we won't make that adjustment, we'll explain why, if that's the case. Next slide here, progressive overload. Renae mentioned this earlier on this topic right here. Renae, you want to start with what that is? You want me to go?
Either way, for my training style for my clients, the main thing I'm focusing on is, again, depending on your experience level, but like for my training level, the 6 to 12 rep range or so. Kind of we start like midline, like let's say like 8 to 10 or whatever. That's your kind of starting point. But then once you're at like 12 reps comfortably, lower your reps and up your weight. You don't necessarily need to lower it. Again, it's going to depend on how much weight you're adding. So upper body, you're not really adding as much. You can probably go to 8 again instead of the 12. But for like squats, barbell squats, then once I'm doing 12 pretty smooth or 10 pretty smooth, I'm going to up the weight and I'm going to go to 6. And then I'm going to keep trying to do 8. And then once I've got 8 down, I'm going to go to 9 or 10. And then once I've got that, I'll either go to 12 or I'm going to try to add some little weight on there. I don't need to add 20 pounds, but even if I'm adding just a little bit, I'm changing up how my muscles are receiving this stress. So it's progressively making your muscles work harder to grow muscle and to maintain that muscle.
Agreed. Yeah. So progressive overload, to say in like my words instead of Renee's, but that was perfectly executed though, is just making sure that your intensity and the difficulty of your workouts is progressively getting harder over the course of time. Now, you're not going to be able to go into the gym every single day, every single week and become stronger because of it. Some weeks you're going to plateau, some weeks you're going to feel fatigued and maybe not as strong. But ideally, in a perfect world, we want to see over time when we zoom out that things are progressing. Now, week to week, what that might look like, kind of like Renae said, let's say your workout plan says 3 sets of 10 of whatever. Let's just say dumbbell curls. Use that as an example, and you're doing 3 sets of 10. Let's say you did 20 pounds. All right. So your first set, you got 10 reps. Second set, you got 10 reps. Third set, you got 10 reps. Now, next week, whenever you come back and do that same workout, we want to see that you can either do more weight or more reps. So
or another set.
Or another set. Now, for time's sake, I'm probably not going to say do more sets. Now, eventually you might have to add more sets. Maybe you're doing 4 sets of something or whatever the case is. But I would recommend, instead of you increasing volume so much and adding a bunch of added sets to it, that you're just going to stick to adding more weight or adding more reps to it. Those are the things that I would probably recommend because, again, most of us don't have time to do 4 sets or 5 sets of something. But if you do have time, you can
sets on like a leg day with like 4 movements.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. If you're not doing
on my time.
If you're doing 8 different exercises, then yeah, you might not be doing a ton of that. But so either way, what we want to see is that your reps are increasing with the same amount of weight, or that your weight is increasing, even if that means you're getting a little bit less reps. So like I said, let's go back to our example of 3 sets of 10 on dumbbell curls. You're doing 20 pounds today. You did all 3 sets of 10. So next week, whenever you come and do it, and that's one of the beauties of this app, is it will tell you what you did last week on your 3 different sets, so you know where to leave off on. So ideally this week, you're able to get 3 sets of 11, or maybe even if you just got 1 set of 11, 1 set of 11, and then 1 set of 10, you still got 2 reps stronger with that same weight that week, meaning that you progressively overloaded. You got a little bit stronger that week. Now, one of the common things I see a lot of people do, and if you're a very, very beginner and you're just trying to learn form and do things correctly, don't do this. But let's say you already have good form. You're doing things properly. If you're doing machines, it usually makes it pretty damn easy to do things properly because there's pictures for it, and there's only one way that weight's going to really move. What I recommend with that, though, is do not, if you're doing 10 reps of something and you get to your 10th rep and you could have done 5 more reps, should that set count as one of your working sets? When I say working sets, I mean, I told you I wanted you to do 3 sets of 10. And your very first set, you got to 10 and you could have done 15. Now, most people are going to say, all right, set 1 is done. Now I need to go on to the second set of 10. No. You just did weight that was not very challenging. You had 5 more reps you could have done. So ideally, when you're picking your weights, assuming your form is in check and in control and everything is good with that, and the movement itself feels good, your joints feel good, your muscles are activated, all that good stuff, we want to be picking weights where if I say to do 3 sets of 10, your first set of 10 should be hard. You should get to that 9th rep and be like, holy shit, I don't think I can do a 10th rep, but yet you get it anyway. And then maybe the second set, you're only able to get 9. And the third set, you're only able to get 7. And so now that is your baseline. You got 10, 9, and 7. It's okay you didn't get all 10 reps because you were shooting for it. You were progressively overloading. You were, challenging yourself with it. So now next week, you should strive to get 3 sets of 10, and you might fall a few reps short. Now, let's say you get to 3 sets of 10, all 3 sets of 10. That means next week, let's bump up the weight a little bit. Or you could bump up some more reps with it, because maybe your gym has 20-pound dumbbells and then it goes to 25-pound dumbbells. And maybe your form gets shitty whenever you go to the 25-pound dumbbells and your shoulders start taking over instead of your bicep. So in that situation, maybe you're not ready to jump up the next 5 pounds, but you could do an extra rep or 2 on each of those sets with that same 20 pounds. So again, as long as your reps are increasing or your weight is increasing, given that your form is in check, then you are correctly progressive overloading. But like I said before, the very start of this page right here, you're not gonna be able to do that every single week. Now, if you're a very, very beginner, you will be able to do that every single week for a while because you're a newbie, right? Your body's not
But
adapted to these things yet.
as a newbie, you're not necessarily focused on progressive overload. You
Yes,
are
you're
focusing
focused
on
on
you're
foundation.
building a habit to go to the gym.
Yes.
You've got other fish to fry.
You got to
Progressive
make sure your form is
overload
first.
is your form, things like that. Progressive overload is you've been with us maybe 4 months and you're
Yeah.
ready to take this more serious. Now, I'm going to tell you to do progressive overload when you're a beginner, like, because I want you lifting the proper weight. However, this is more fine tuning and things like that. So if you're on month 1, you're still getting your feet under you. You need the basics before you can add on the cherry on the top.
Yep. So that is progressive overload. Do we have any chat questions here? Oh, there was one. Maybe not.
No.
We're good. All right, cool. All right. Next page here. Rest days and deloads. So we kind of talked about this a little bit with frequency in terms of you need as many rest days and deloads, and I'll explain what those means here in a second, based off of how well you're recovering. So actually, this is a good one to go off of with progressive overload because, like I said, you can't just keep building week after week after week after week after week because eventually your body is super fatigued and it's not recovering nearly as well. And so now you're getting into a place of overreaching and potentially even overtraining if you're going too hard for too long a period. So that's why we build out those deload weeks or more of a rest week. And it doesn't even have to be in the gym. It could just be going on a walk each day or going on a hike. Or if you're going in the gym during that week, you're pulling back on intensity, you're pulling back on weight use and stuff of that nature, and just giving your body more of a rest week. Now, these weeks, I don't like these weeks. They're not fun. We always want to be pushing and pushing. At least I do. But they are definitely needed. Same thing with rest days. For some people, they have a tendency that they're going to try to do a workout every single day. No. I want you resting at least a couple of those days. Plus, it's good for just life balance in general. Have a couple of days out of the gym. It keeps you hungry to get into the gym that next week or that next day or whatever the case is. It allows you time with your friends and family and just do other stuff. And again, it keeps that hunger up for the gym as well. But most importantly, it's giving your body what exactly is in the name. It's giving you a chance to rest your body because we can't just pound away. That's not how our body is going to respond how it needs to. We have to listen to it. We have to give it that rest and recovery as it's needed. And then, like I said, those deloads are factored in and scheduled out around pretty much between every phases, at least for my people it is, so that if you've been pushing really hard for the last 8 weeks, okay, now let's pull back for a week, and then we're going to change up kind of what we're doing and do a different workout kind of split on that. Renae, how do you utilize these?
I'm not a big deload kind of girly yet. I will say my own personal experience, a lot of my clients' experiences, they're being mindful of where they're at in their cycle and they're noticing that they're not able to lift as heavy in that second half of their cycle. And so I guess I do like, and some clients do like the mini deload or whatever, where you're not Like some weeks the weight is just not fucking moving. I'm like,
Yeah.
last week this was great. Cool. I could do it. Today, I cannot squat 135. It's not happening. So I'll go down instead of beat myself up on that. I will be like, hey, look, here's where I'm at. Or simply it's just not moving one day. And so I structure a lot of it based on like, again, I don't cycle sync. But I do notice to when weight is harder for me to move and when my body needs more rest versus pushing it.
Yeah.
So
Knowing when to push and pull back is a skill, and it's something that everybody needs to learn in some way, shape, or form. And even if you're just, sick one day, or whatever that looks like, or maybe you just underslept massively, you only got a few hours of sleep last night. That next day is not a day that you push and try to set PRs. Because if you do that, and I know this by experience, you sleep like shit, like terrible, and then you go and then you try to hit PRs, and that's when you get injured. That's when things kind of go awry with it. So you gotta become more intelligent, working smarter, not harder with our bodies. Something that, if you grew up in athletics at all, even if you didn't grow up in athletics, you could probably grasp what I'm saying here is people always say, no pain, no gain, work through it. Unless you're injured, if you're just tweaked or whatever, you can play through that stuff, which is definitely true. That's a competitor mindset, and that is sports, right? Living a healthy lifestyle, being in the gym and weight training, it's not a sport. I mean, it is a sport, but we can't work harder. We have to work smarter. You want to work hard within the confines and how it makes sense for your body, but going every single day with no rest days doesn't make you tough. It makes you stupid, because things are not going to happen well for your body at that point. You're not giving yourself the rest and recovery that your body needs. This isn't saying that, oh, you're weak, you need a rest day. No, you need a rest day so you can actually maximize the gains that you're trying to make and the improvements that you're trying to make within your body composition and physique. You need those rest days for that to even happen. You need some
this
of those pullback days.
this is kind of getting into your whole body health. Now, again, like one of the reasons I got my Aura ring, because like I said earlier, if I'm working out as hard as I am in the gym, but I'm not sleeping well, then I'm not maximizing what I'm trying to get out of the gym. And so this is why we're asking you, how is your sleep? How is your mental health? How is this? How is that? And this is like where I find my like passion for fitness and whole body health, because it just all goes together. Like you can't be sleeping like shit, eating like shit, and expect your workouts to be benefiting you.
Yeah.
And so that's where it takes being mindful of your sleep. Are you getting enough deep sleep? How is the quality of your sleep? And it just kind of makes you like start to think like, oh yeah, I'm doing all, like I want to go to bed earlier so I can perform better in the gym, or I want to do this so I can do better here. And I understand not everyone is going to fall in love with the gym like I did or like Marcus did. Totally
Yeah.
understand that. However, I think most people can fall in love with a healthy lifestyle when it starts to pay off in how they're feeling. Um,
I agree.
so yeah.
I agree. I agree. All right. Next and last slide, substitutions. So we're going to give you guys some examples of different things that you can substitute. But before we kind of do that, first off, if there's an exercise on your guys' workout plan that you don't know how to do, you don't understand it, you've already watched a video, you've watched a written description, whatever, you still don't know how to do it, let us know that first and foremost. We can either just verbally give you
Or
some
if you
different
don't have that
substitutions to
machine.
make. Yeah, or if you don't have a machine. Yeah, if you don't have like, a standing leg curl machine that I might have on your plan, if you don't have that access at the gym, which a lot of gyms are not going to have that access to, then ask me or ask Renae, hey, can you make a substitution for this? I don't have this machine. In which case we can go in there and add, adjust that on your workout plan. I believe you guys are also able to do it from your own. I know I can do it from mine, but I'm pretty sure on your guys' workouts, if you don't have access to something, there's a little 3 dots in the right-hand corner that you're able to click that and swap out the workouts. I could be wrong. Maybe that's only me as the trainer app, because I know I do that for some of my clients in the gym as well. If you don't have access to that, then disregard what I'm saying. But yeah, so if you don't know how to do something, if you're just really hesitant with it, or if you don't have access to it, let us know and we'll make that substitution. If, like I said before, maybe that piece of equipment is being used at this moment. In a perfect world, you're able just to skip it, go to the next exercise, and whenever that equipment comes open, then you come back over and hit that one. Or maybe you're like, I don't have enough time to to be waiting here for this or whatever the case is. I just need a quick substitution so I can get on with this workout. So let's kind of talk about, some of those things. So I'll give an example, and then Renae, you give an example. So let's say it is a seated incline chest press that you're doing. So you're going to be working on more of the upper chest with that. It's taken, or you don't have access to one. Then we can swap that out. Let's think about what is going to be a similar movement that we can replace that's going to hit the same muscle groups. So a similar angle, a similar movement would be a dumbbell bench press, a dumbbell incline bench press, or a barbell incline bench press, or a Smith machine incline bench press, or a cable incline chest press. So there are many different things that we can utilize depending on what you have access to, what you have time for, what you have experience with, things of that nature. Now you might have, usually I'm not going to have 2 incline movements on there or whatever the case is, but you can, if you can't do an incline movement because you don't have any access elsewhere, then go do a flat machine or a flat, dumbbell or something of that nature. So you still want to just think about what can I do to replicate the same movement pattern, the same muscle groups worked as well. And then go kind of make that substitution. Renae, give us a substitution example.
Like you've got lying down hamstring curl versus seated hamstring curl are two of them. Or there's like sometimes I'll program like a ball hamstring curl, like on a stability ball.
Yeah.
Huh?
Nothing. Keep going. Sorry.
Oh, so that's one. Hamstrings, though, you could also put in, again, this is kind of not that I would expect you guys to know this, but sumo, like squats or whatever, that's going to target hamstrings as well. So you could do that. Let's say you want to do hammer curls, or a hammer curl on the cable. You can do dumbbells instead.
Yeah.
Triceps, you can kind of change out those. If you don't like the tricep kickbacks, maybe you want to do overhead extension. I did tricep kickbacks on the cable yesterday.
Which I was going to say, actually, that was one of those where on the slide where we talk about free weights, machines, or cables, like tricep kickbacks, like with the dumbbells. I hate watching people do those in the gym, and I personally don't like it either because there's such a small fraction of that actual movement that you're actually your triceps are actually under tension and actually being worked. Whereas that's a great example of an exercise I'd rather you do on cables because there you're not dealing with gravity with it because it's not gravity that's the factor. It is the actual resistance from the cable itself. And so you can get down to the angle. So even at the bottom of the rep right here, you're holding the cable, which is pulling your arm this way. So you're constantly feeling that stress on your tricep with it. If you're just listening on the podcast, I just got up and demonstrated that. But everybody here that just saw that, then you would have that tension there on your tricep the whole time. Whereas if I'm just holding a dumbbell, the gravity is just holding it right here. There's no tension on my tricep whatsoever. So that's where sometimes cables are going to be vastly superior to something like a free weight. Sorry.
On triceps, also, you really want to keep that elbow in
Yeah.
to engage your tricep more. If your elbow is all the way out here, it's not doing anything. So elbow is always in on triceps.
And I know Renae and I are trying to get better about posting more, especially reels and stuff of like specific movements. I know I am specifically because there's so many things that I always see in the gym consistently, whether it's people that I'm just working with initially for the first time or seeing just at the gym as well, of just things that people could be just optimizing, getting more out of their time. So I'm trying to think about those things and make those posts with it as well. So if you're not following us on social media, definitely make sure you are, just because we're going to be posting frequently there as well. But yes,
more substitutions. If we have you doing barbell back squats, you can do dumbbell squats, like front squats, or let's say you need to do leg extensions. That's going to work your quads, but you don't have a leg extension machine or it's busy. You can do kettlebell or dumbbell goblet squats. That's also going to work your quads. Or like I said, again, a lot of this is just kind of ask us. You can throw landmine stuff in there as well to like mix it up.
And Lauren also did say that you can substitute workouts for yourself as well. So if you know of an adjustment you want to make to this training plan, or maybe just that individual workout, then you can go swap things out on there as well. Or you don't have to swap it at all, and you can just leave it on there. And like every single time whenever you go in there, maybe you don't like barbell back squats, and that's what's programmed on there, but you want to do a hack squat machine instead, then just keep that in your mind. Like you don't need to go change it to a hack squat unless you just want to. You can just leave it as barbell back squat and just still log your sets, reps, and weights used because you know what you're actually doing and you're doing hack squat with it. So, but yeah, so substitutions, again, this comes back to, giving you guys different workouts so you can experience, dumbbell this, cable that, machine this, whatever. So you can kind of see these different things as well. And that just comes with experience and time in the gym. I always go back to what is something that I got the most out of when I was first starting to weight train, how I learned a lot. I would spend time watching YouTube videos before I'd go do a certain movement. So if I was going to go do a chest workout, I would type in Kai Green or Phil Heath chest workout, and those are big bodybuilders. And you might not have any aspirations to ever be a bodybuilder, but who knows how to execute movements the absolute best to build muscle and lose fat? It is bodybuilders over any other sport in the world. So if you want to learn how to do something absolutely properly and perfect, go watch one of those bodybuilders. They're going to show you exactly how to do it. But there's something else that I was going to say earlier.
You could do step ups instead of front lunges, or better, you could do front lunges instead of step ups.
Yep.
For another substitution.
And you can always, obviously, always ask us. You can always Google these things as well. Just be able to find something quick if we're not able to get back to you right away with it. But that's it. There was something really important that I was going to say, and I'm so pissed I didn't just write it down. I thought about it like 3 different times. It just didn't make any sense to say it earlier, but I don't know what it was. If I think about it, I'll message you guys later. But that is our presentation for the night. Sorry, I said 30 minutes. It literally went about.
You said 30 minutes for this?
I said ideally it's gonna be about 30 minutes. It went about an hour and 10 minutes. So sorry for that, but thank you for being on the call. I assume you're still on the call because you're getting something out of it. So hopefully you guys did. Remember that if we can link up with you guys in person, even just one time, we can get a lot out of just one session. Obviously a couple more would be helpful with it. Obviously time and location is a factor. I got Victoria on the call. She's up in Canada. She cannot work with me, but you can send me videos. You can watch the videos as well. What I always recommend to everybody, even if you feel like you're somewhat experienced with it as well, especially if you're more unexperienced, when you get to the gym, when you're about to go do your workout at home, wherever you're at doing it, take 5 or 10 minutes, walk on the treadmill or whatever. It's going to help you get warmed up anyway, but look through those workouts before you actually go and start applying them. If you don't know how to do something, just watch the video really quick. There's also a written description for most of those as well. So you can kind of pick up these cues to then go try to replicate as you're actually doing the workouts as well. Again, you're never going to get comfortable with this stuff and learn it until you step out and actually try it. And it's okay. Trial and error is literally part of every aspect of what we're working on. You will get better. We all started as beginners at some point. And you might be at those very beginning stages right now, but just trust that if you keep showing up and doing the work, it will pay off and you will become more comfortable with this stuff and it will become more automatic in your life. I'm so pissed that I can't remember what the hell it was I was going to say earlier. Either way, though, you guys got anything for us at the moment? Questions about this? Questions about something else? Renae, you got anything else?
No.
All right. Well, everybody else, thank you for being on the call tonight. Our next one will be the first Wednesday of October. So we'll see you guys in about 4 weeks or so. I'm not sure what the topic is of that one. We will post that hopefully in the next week or two, so you guys can plan accordingly to make sure you make that call here in the chat. Yep. Thanks. Good info. Good. Happy you guys liked it. Well, all right. Well, you guys have a wonderful rest of the night, a wonderful check-in with Renae if she's your coach tomorrow, or with me on Sunday. And most importantly, go Chiefs. See you guys later.